I hope. Buenas. Good afternoon. Why you should visit Ecuador in 2026. That is the title for this video, this live stream. Welcome. It is currently November 4th, 2025, and we are going to talk about the reasons why you should visit Ecuador in 2026. Normally, around this time of the year, I would be making my should you visit Ecuador, but I've decided we're going to go for the reasons why you should visit Ecuador in 2026. That's what we're going to talk about here today. We're going to go into a little bit of Ecuador news, some thoughts and opinions of the things that have happened recently, and possibly things that are yet to happen. Of course, personal experiences, and also talk about a variety of other things that will help. I am Ace. If you are joining for the first time, buenas. This is our typical greeting. Buenas, of course, is the general greeting in Spanish. You can, of course, also say buenas tardes, buenas noches if it were nighttime, but it's technically still the afternoon. Buenos dias if it were the morning, but we're in the afternoon right now. At whatever time you're watching this, of course, buenas, because that is the all-around greeting. And different to what we would usually do, I would normally wait a short amount of time to let everyone join. But we're starting a little bit early today because this is going to be formatted similar to a video. We are going to, of course, answer questions, mainly pertaining to visiting Ecuador right now. And if there are any visa or travel related questions, mainly focused on the visa, maybe if you want to live in Ecuador, we'll be talking a little bit about EquiAssist later on in the video in this live stream. Just heads up that they're really good. They can help you out in that aspect. But yeah, so buenas. I would love to see greetings, salutations in the chat for if you're joining here today. But we're going to get started with our first topic as to why you should visit Ecuador. I want to go a little bit back in time to 2024. Ooh, time travel. If we go with the words of the very powerful, moist critical Charlie, as he says, 2024 is caveman history, is ancient history in internet time, but that was last year. And ironically, last year around this time, I wanted to talk about the situation with the apagones. Apagones referring to the situation with the power outages in Ecuador that we experienced last year. For anyone who is not aware of the power outages, we did have power outages last year, outages that lasted anywhere between 8 to 14 hours. There were lower outages of 4 and 6 hours, but the ones that were most frequent were 8 to 14 hours. So yeah, we're gonna talk about that first. Hello, hello, Lisa. What's up? Hey, good to see you here. Glad you could make it. By the way, since today's live stream is why you should visit Ecuador 2026, uh, white. Tomorrow we're gonna use probably red in order to indicate like no, but today is yes. So let's take a look at our first article in regards to the situation with the apagones. By the way, Lisa, hope you're doing well. Let me share that. I need to open up the chatting with info screen. Okay, so like I said, we're going a little bit back in time. First, we went back to 2024 because, yes, of course, that was when we had these power outages, the rolling blackouts, as some people call them as well. The reason that these were happening was due to lack of rain and the overdependence of what is hydroelectric power in Ecuador. In case you didn't know, Ecuador is highly reliant on hydroelectric power. And as such, last year we had power outages because there was a drought. There wasn't any rain, and the hydroelectric power plants, they didn't have enough water to power the country. and we couldn't get energy from our other suppliers, basically other countries that would sell us power. And if we could, it wasn't enough to completely fulfill the demand of energy that Ecuador required. So this year, fortunately, Ecuador was able to fill up the reserves for the hydroelectric plants that needed them due to the high amounts of rain. In fact, this year there was excessive rain at earlier on in the year, if I remember correctly. And throughout the process of the year, we've had continuous rain. I still, to this day, get messages about the precautions. For example, the last messages I got, starting from October 25th, Thursday of that same week, Saturday, which was this weekend, Sunday, and yesterday, I got different alerts of warnings that there would be rain in the country. As such, rain is something that is consistently happening, and fortunately for us, because that is consistently filling up the hydroelectric power plants. Now, according to this article, which the reason why I pulled it up, we got to check this out. Hello, Anna. What's going on? I will be greeting from time to time if I manage to see your messages in the chat. How's it going? Buenas. Let me go into this article. Sorry about that. So Ecuador. Oh yeah, I should translate this into English. Translate to English. Sometimes it doesn't go to the first time. Okay. Ecuador could experience power outages again in April 2025, says the Advisory Council of Engineers. A new drought could occur in April 2025 with the added problem that demand could skyrocket, but so far, only 336 megawatts of new capacity have been contracted, experts warn. So according to this article, which was published in around January, February of this year, because 31st pretty much is already February, they were talking about the possibility of new blackouts occurring in Ecuador in 2025. As someone who has already lived through Ecuador April of 2025, I can confirm that these blackouts never happened. These predictions were made because there were only 336 megawatts of power added to the power grid. But since we're in November 4th, we have not seen power outages. And in fact, let me go into the second article. Open this up. Article number 2. Should probably mute these just in case music randomly starts playing in the background. If it is, I apologize. The ads sometimes attack. So, looking at this article, translating it to English, they failed in their prediction, says Deputy Minister of Electricity to experts who warn of possible blackouts. Fabian Calero, Vice Minister of Electricity and Renewable Energy, stated that it can be guaranteed that there will be no power outages in Ecuador starting in August 2025. Once again, as someone who lived through August 2025, I can confirm that this was the case. And I like it how here, I was reading through this, how he says like basically in your face that there would be that these experts indicated that there would be blackouts in April, and he was like, were there blackouts in April? No, they failed in their prediction, says Fabian Calero on June 3rd, 2025. When asked by one of the journalists from the media outlet, Calero stated that it could be guaranteed that there would be no power outages starting in August of this year. While that doesn't exactly give us an exact date as to up until when there won't be power outages, we can confirm that at least as of August, which we lived through, there have been no power outages. Going in. And what he says about being that past August, I wrote down some notes, by the way. I'm checking my notes. This is like, imagine this were one of the pre-programmed videos on my channel where I have time to repeat in case I make mistakes. Here, I'm checking through the show notes to make sure that the information is accurate. So the time frame that he mentions, like past August, is important because around the September-November time frame, that is when lower rain was to be expected. because that was around exactly the time frame that we had these outages last year. He also stated that the government is working on avoiding outages, and while nuclear power isn't an immediate option, it's not just nuclear power, but he also mentions the implementation of geothermal energy. They're not available now, but there's the possibility that something will come later. What they are incorporating heavily right now is the generation of a steady source of energy. In this case, he's referring to thermoelectric power generation. So now we're going to go on to the next article. I don't want you to feel if I'm rushing through this. Like, if you have any questions, please let me know. But just want to make sure that we get through the information in the approximately hour and a half, 2 hours that I have programmed to be here today. And let's see here. So, looking at this next article, and of course, translating it into English. So, the government announces it will add 979 megawatts to the electrical system to prevent power outages. President Daniel Noboa met with Energy Minister Ines Manzano to review the 2025-2026 dry season plan to prevent blackouts. So the government is, of course, planning against the blackouts that we faced last year, and they have promised 979 megawatts of energy will be added to the power grid. As of this moment, from what we saw in the previous article, we know that 336 megawatts have been added to the power grid. Now, looking through the article, uh, according to the presidency, President Danilo Noboa met today with Ines Manzano, today referring to May 28th, the Minister of Energy, and the Board of Directors of the Ecuadorian Electricity Corporation, SELEC, the entity responsible for the generation and transmission of energy for the entire country. Noboa Manzano and the other authorities reviewed the 2025-2026 dry season plan, which outlines the actions to be taken to ensure sufficient electricity production in Ecuador. According to the official statement, all plans were reviewed, including the investment and recovery plan. To date, 84 megawatts of hydroelectric and thermal power plants have been recovered. Not the ones that have been added separately. These were the ones that were already available in the country, but have been recovered. At least that's the way that we can interpret what is being said. Manzano indicated that regarding to the Select's operations as a public company, all the necessary changes are being made to ensure the company is sound. Of course, everything that they do can't just be made all willy-nilly. This is a point that, if I remember correctly, I wrote down in my analysis, that I'm going to state later, so I'll leave it for the conclusion of this section. But just understand that it's not all being implemented at once or in a rushed manner. Good things take time, I guess could be the best way to translate that. Here's just explaining all the things that will be added, and that the drought phenomenon, as we just mentioned, is expected to happen around September through November of this year. We're currently in November, and like I mentioned, we're still getting messages warning or advising people that there is considerable rain programmed in certain, not programmed, but like speculated in certain sections of the country. You could go into this whole conspiracy theory of, oh no, they're just sending that so that people feel that there's still rain when it's not actually raining. But I don't think there's a need to do that, to get into this whole conspiracy theory mindset, but just giving you that idea just in case. Yes, I have thought about it. That you don't think that I'm just blindly following what the government is saying. So I'm looking at the sources. But moving on, let's go on into the fourth article. In regards to the power sources. So let's open this up. Article numero cuatro. Okay, translate to English. Try again. Good. So Ecuador reports on the evolution of electricity generation in August 2025. So now we're getting a little bit closer to the present. According to data from SENACE, Ecuador's electricity generation in August came mostly from hydroelectric plants. So looking at my notes, because I made a big mention of this over there, as long as they don't lag. Ooh, turtle speed is getting kind of laggy for some unfortunate reason. Or is it just? No, yeah, it's laggy. Okay, well, we'll just look at it here. Ecuador's electricity generation reached 35,582 megawatt hours between midnight and 10 a.m. on Tuesday, August 19th, 2025, according to the real-time report from the National Electricity Operator, the SENACE. Domestic production covered internal demand and allowed for the export of a small surplus to Colombia. In other words, we're okay with what electricity, the power generation is right now in the country, so much so that we have enough power in order to even sell some to Colombia, which is great, which I find great, especially because when we were going through the power outages last year, the apagones, Colombia was one of the countries that sold power to us. And I'm really appreciative of Colombia for doing that because the power outages were bad enough as it was. Imagine if we didn't have the extra support from Colombia. It would have been even worse. Oh, and Deborah Lombardi, thank you for becoming a member. I appreciate the support. Anyone who wants to become members or supporters of the channel, I really appreciate it. A bit of a tangent. Some of the benefits of becoming a member, of course, you get access to videos earlier. There is one already on my channel that will be available to everyone on Friday, but it is available now to members. There's also extra content that I'm going to leave members only, and maybe later on in the year, post as regular content when it's pertinent, I guess would be the correct word, to the situation of things that I'm talking about. So yeah, thank you so much for the support. Hello from New York. Hello from Puerto Viejo. I mean, buenas from Puerto Viejo, Ecuador. Thank you for joining the live stream and thank you for becoming a member. I appreciate it. You now have some surplus for Colombia. Exactly. And I think that's great that we were able to support Colombia in this way because, like I said, it's like we got help from them. So I only feel it's right for us to help them in return. Okay, I think it's not laggy anymore, hopefully. The other one that I had opened, the other tab. Yeah, I think it's alive again. All right, so yeah, the different sources of energy that are being produced, like it mentions in the article, 91.8% of the power is hydroelectric and 7.8% is thermoelectric. So, unfortunately, in the case scenario of, this is the not the worst case scenario, but it's the higher amount that's being produced. Unfortunately, the majority is coming from hydroelectric production, which in a worst case scenario, you could say if it stops raining, we'll be depending on the reserves. And if the reserves dry out, then we'd be in a situation again. Fortunately, that's not the case, and the government is investing in other forms of power, but this is a slow process. It's not immediate, unfortunately. There is, fortunately, thermoelectric power, like I mentioned, but it is only 7.8% of the power that's being produced in the country, which is thermoelectric and renewables over here. And we are, of course, as mentioned before, looking into other forms of energy. Ecuador is looking for other forms of energy in order to not be stuck in this situation again. Okay, let's move on to the fifth article and the last one that is related to this topic, to the outages in Ecuador, and then I'll give my final thoughts and conclusion. I'm not going to touch it because then afterwards it's going to lag again, and I don't want it to lag because then I feel like the stream might crash when it lags. This is the problem when you don't have a high-end rig. I feel like most streamers, what they do is they stream with like these The people over here always joke like streamers always have like supercomputers, computers from NASA and stuff like that, while everyone over here is using a toaster. Not literally, but figuratively in comparison to the machines that people are using in other countries. So yeah, that's great that you now have some surplus for Colombia. Is solar energy considered to be viable in Ecuador? As we talked about last year, because we did make a mention of this last year, solar energy unfortunately is still too expensive. Like for someone to implement solar energy into their own house, it would cost way too much money. If I had to choose, not on a personal level, but on a countrywide level, since the country does have great sources of solar energy, we are on the equator. Solar power should be very, very much available to us immediately. Since we do have that source of power, I feel like it would be more convenient to have that as an alternative that we can use and implement immediately. Yet the government, the country itself, doesn't seem to want to implement it. I'm kind of concerned as to whether that's because they don't want there to be self sufficiency, or and they like the government itself like producing the solar power, and they just want private investors to add this power, or if it's just that complicated to implement this form of power, and it's just so expensive to upkeep to implement in the first place that the government doesn't see it as something feasible now. It's kind of difficult to say because the reports that I read about it, they mentioned like having looked into it, but they never mentioned actually going through with it, except for, like I said, I think from private companies that offer this form of power. But going into the last article, because some people have been concerned about new blackouts, surprise power cuts cause alarm as the dry season approaches. So basically, look at this in the sense that every time you hear or see a power outage, like even if it's like for less than an hour, like 30 minutes or less, people start getting concerned because, of course, we're in that season where you could assume that there's going to be power outages. In one case, is we see in this article, looking at what this article says, there was an outage in Guayaquil. There was a recent outage in the northern Guayaquil affecting areas such as Sauces 3 and 6, Samanes, Bernaza Norte, Garzota, Guayacanes, and El Limonal Cooperative. Cooperative. This happened, and people were, of course, concerned, even though several hours passed without knowing what the cause was. But then a source inside the institution told Espresso that the outage was caused by a helium balloon that became entangled in high power voltage lines. Over here in my city, the city that I'm in, we've actually had outages, but not the 8 hour ones, not even hour outage. I think one day we might have had an outage that lasted longer than 30 minutes. And the only unfortunate thing about that is that we never really got confirmation, at least I never really found it, of what caused the outage. But it's kind of common to once a month maybe have an outage happen, and it's not like ooh, everything went out in the zone, like maybe in your house, maybe next to your house, maybe in your area, your neighborhood, the power went out because I don't know, like what happened here, a balloon got tangled into some power cables. So that's just something that happens, and it's unfortunate sometimes because you have electrical appliances and you worry about them getting damaged, which is why I always recommend one of the things that you do when you're here, just in case, is to have one of the, I forget what it's called, but the box that protects your devices when the power goes out. Have everything connected to that, so if the power goes out, it at least holds the power for a while, and it gives you time to turn anything off. And even if you don't turn anything off, hopefully the power will come back before it even needs to kick into effect, or it takes the hit for your devices, and that way you don't end up losing anything important, which is what most people worry about, because for some people losing a $50 appliance might be like, okay, not a big deal, but for someone here, $50 appliance means you got to buy another $50 appliance, And based on certain economic situations, it's not even $50. It's at this point over $60 maybe. So that would be really painful to have to buy out of nowhere. Something similar happened to me with the TV, not because of an outage, but just because the TV's been here for such a long time that it just finally part of it gave out. I didn't get it changed. I was able to buy the lights for it, but it was still a heavy expense that I was not expecting to happen. Uh, but in order to keep my sanity, I do need a form of entertainment, and the TV definitely helps me out to watch the things that I like to watch. So yeah, that's the situation with the outages, at least in general. My final thoughts on the situation. I think the power outage situation is slowly getting resolved. Of course, I am concerned about the ongoing dependence of hydroelectric power sources. Like, who wouldn't be, especially considering what happened last year? No one wants to go through 14 hours or more of power outages again. But the government is clearly taking steps in order to try to uh, prevent that from happening. The solution, unfortunately, though, is not something that happens overnight. I don't think the construction of a power plant is something that you can say, okay, I'm going to start today and it's going to be done tomorrow. It's just not feasible. Even the construction of something as simple, quote unquote, as a mall that's happening in my city. We've never had an official mall here in Puerto Viejo. We have the Paseo Shopping, which is like a mini mall. Um, you could walk around it in less than 20 minutes, maybe even less than 10 if you're speed walking. It has 2 floors, so you just and you're done. Unless you go through all of Comisariato, in which case you'd be there for maybe longer than 30 minutes, but it's still not like something huge. Like, I remember my experiences with Sawgrass Mall in Florida when I used to live there. Man, that was that was great. I never really got to enjoy it as much as I probably would now, in the sense that now I'd be more what would be the correct word for this? More aware of the things that I'm looking for, and not just like randomly walking around. Although I guess there is some fun in that randomness when I was a kid, more of a kid. uh, but because some people I know view me as kind of a kid. But there was a little bit more of an element of randomness. Now I would go there with purpose and know what I want to do and optimize my day to have the most amount of fun possible going in a mall like that. But over here, you just don't have that kind of experience yet. But even the process of that mall is taking until possibly sometime end of next year. And that's, in my opinion, being very optimistic. And that's a mall. So imagine the production of a whole power plant. That would be, oof, heavy. The amount of time that it might take to be able to get that done. So hopefully it gets done soon. But what I want everyone to know and to be aware of is that the government is doing the work. We have to be patient for things to happen, and we can't expect things to just happen overnight. Even if they put workers to it every day, I don't know if that would be convenient, because I'm pretty sure there's other parts of the country that these workers have to be in. Um, and I'm guessing if you tried to force rush it, I don't think people would be happy either. If it broke down the next day, people would start blaming things like shoddy materials, rushed construction, and then the government would look bad anyways because everything was done too quickly. So I actually prefer the idea of taking time, to do this right, and not letting the pressure of get this done quick overpower the government in a way. I do want it done fast, but I don't want it done so fast that it's not done right. So those are my thoughts on that situation. Oh, thank you for the donation. Again, Deborah, thank you. Appreciate the support. Um, any donation helps. All the help is appreciated. Muchísimas gracias. I see a comment. Hola, ¿qué más? ¿Qué piensas sobre el presidente? What do I think about the president? I think he's a young guy and he's trying to do things right, but there's also an aspect that makes me doubt that everything's being done perfectly, because um, no one who's new into presidency is going to do things right at first. And we can all say that, yeah, he's had his year and a half in power, but with the way that that year and a half worked, it was just the beginning. Some presidents don't even get rolling until after like their first term. That's not giving him an excuse to do things wrong, but I do think it's going to take some time for things to be completely right. My hope is that from here to next year, we see substantial changes in terms of the situation with crime. Of course, with the situation of the energy production, we can use this live stream as a prediction of next year. Right now, we have 339, I think it was, megawatts of power that have been added to the power grid. They're promising more for next year. So let's hold them to that. Let's hope that the energy production is being added to the power grid next year. Um, Honestamente no tengo una opinión ni favorable ni infavorable para el presidente, simplemente es una persona intentando hacer su trabajo y espero que lo haga de la mejor forma. By the way, let me know if the audio is good. I didn't get a chance to ask that in the beginning. I just have it like here, and I'm assuming the audio is good because no one has said we can't hear you. So I think it's okay. I think it's okay. If it isn't, either way, please let me know. Those are my thoughts on the power situation. And yeah, I'd like to hear from you. What do you think about all of this situation with power and in regards to the energy crisis that is technically officially over? I want to say technically only because, like I said, dependency on hydroelectric power isn't ideal. But as long as it doesn't get worse, then you know, we can keep hoping that it gets better. Okay, we're gonna continue with the next topic. I think right now we were in kind of a heavier one about the situation last year. Last year we had the apagones, the power outages. This year, no apagones, so we fulfilled a good thing this year. Remember, we were all concerned about the power outages, and now there are no power outages, so we should be very happy about that. And we're going to continue with the next article. Let me just load it up and get it translated so that it's ready. Thanks. What were you thinking about the paro? Audio is fine. Perfect. What were you thinking about the paro? What were my thoughts about the paro? We'll talk about that in a bit because that's actually the next topic after this topic. So we'll look at that in a second. But I have it in mind. Don't worry. All the topics they're prepared. I came ready today. I'm like, we got things to talk about, and we're gonna talk about them. So right now we're going into something overly positive. Yay, news that's positive. So we have the situation with the Devil's Nose Railway, Tren Nariz Diablo. The prices and schedules for this historic tourist destination in Ecuador. Now, in case you didn't know, and I don't remember if I made a mention of it during one of the live streams, many people have asked me about the train. I've seen many questions throughout the years of talking about Ecuador, about, hey, when does the train running? What time does it run? How much does it cost? But the train has been not operational for a few years now. If I remember correctly, I want to say it's been not operational for like 9 years. Could be a little bit less, but after years of inactivity, it's finally operational again. So let's look at the article. The historic Devil's Nose railway line connecting Alausi and Sibambe is back in operation after years of closure. After years of inactivity, one of Ecuador's iconic tourist and heritage landmarks has been revived, the Devil's Nose train, internationally renowned for its challenging journey through the Andes, resumed operations in July 2025. I feel like we talked about this sometime at the beginning of the year, or maybe we talked about the plans to reinstate it, but there it is. For anyone looking to visit Ecuador, you now have this reason available to you again to check out the train. The only thing I will say is that I think I remember hearing comments of people talking about using the train, going on a train, being able to go on this train. But you need to be like aware of the time, in the sense that you have to like reserve or make sure you have a ticket beforehand. Just make sure. This is just one of my things, maybe. If I remember correctly, I also when I talked about this, something that I do highly recommend as usual. just make sure you have everything organized. If someone can help you organize it, like boots on the ground, they get you the tickets for the date that you decide to come, that would be much better. So that way you avoid the crisis that you're gonna have if you're like, oh, I'm gonna go on the train, and the same day you try to buy the ticket, and they tell you, oh, you can't, you have to reserve it. But let's look at the information just to have everything clear either way, just in case. So this is just the information of what it is. Visitors can once again experience the vertigo and beauty of this Andean landscape, accompanied by cultural presentations, local gastronomy, and activities organized by local communities. As you can see, it looks like quite the experience. As someone who has not ridden a train, I would love to go on this as well. I'll have to see if it's in my future plans. So many things that I want to do for the future uh, that requires funds. Let's see here. The estimates of over 10,000 tourists will travel this route. Furthermore, according to official government information, efforts are underway to mitigate the negative impact of mass tourism. There's a control of visitor capacity per day, So keep that into account. That's exactly what I was just saying. Make sure if you have plans, if this is part of your Ecuador itinerary, make sure someone gets you a ticket or you somehow reserve the ticket from where you're at before you even come try to get on this train. Activities with an educational and environmental focus, because of course it's good to learn and it's good to have an idea of the environment, to understand the environment, and cultural awareness programs for national and foreign tourists. Okay, so other routes are being programmed to be opened as well. Okay, here's the prices and schedules. So the tours run from Wednesday to Sunday and holidays, with departures from the Alausi station at 8, 11, and 2, preceded by a check-in 30 minutes before boarding, which will be 10 minutes before the selected time. Tickets can be purchased through the Ticket Éxito website. So here's your website to be able to get the tickets if you're planning on going on this train. Uh, sorry. Where the set where you select the date, time, and seats, entering the name, ID number, and age of each passenger. The reservation is held for 15 minutes to complete the payment, after which it becomes available to other users. The rates before VAT and service charges are national for people who are from here, $18, adults from 12 to 64, and $9 for children from 5 to 11, and senior citizens who are 65 and above. So foreigners, adults who are 12 to 64, they are charged $30, and children from ages 5 to 11 and senior citizens or people with disabilities will be charged half the price, which is $15. All in all, I don't think it's overly egregious, and especially since what they're trying to do is promote tourism. And of course, if something like this is adopted by a lot of people go, a lot of people visit, a lot of people decide to take the train, then they'll be able to open the routes with more confidence, and there will be more options for people to have to do touristic things in the country. This shows a little bit of this talks about a little bit of the route, the trip. But yeah, that is the situation with the train. Any thoughts and opinions that you might have, please let me know. I think it's great. Personally, I would love to go on this train. There's so many things I would love to do. It's just, time constraints, work, life, and of course, economic situations. I'd have to really organize myself in order to be able to do this. I still have to set aside some time in order to visit different parts of the country. Also, if you noticed, I left the goal in my for this live stream. It's the same goal as all the other live streams. I'm trying to collect funds in order to visit Otavalo. I already have a total of 150. I think it was a total of 200 out of the 400 that I'm planning to use for the trip to Otavalo. It might be cheaper, it might be more expensive, but that's at least the base amount. that I'm willing to work with in order to ask someone to come with me so that they can help me record. It might even be a live stream the day that we do this. The trip to Otavalo. Of course, I have to calculate that there's going to be around 2 days that I'm not going to work. It would probably be Friday and Saturday. And assuming if I go Friday, I would have to go Friday, Saturday, and probably be back by Sunday. That's the idea. Place to stay, food. So that's accommodation and food for the person who's with me, and of course, paying them for actually being there uh, that day of work. Of course, the trip and everything else. So it's just all the funds that you need that I think I would need in order to make this trip a reality. I'm really into the idea of this happening because I've never been to Otavalo, and I would really love to experience it myself. Roddy, viva el paro! No, no to the paro. We're actually going to talk about the paro now. So, JS, I'm going to tell you my thoughts about the paro. Uh, Going into, I mean, I don't want to go into too many thoughts about the paro itself, other than the fact that I'm very happy that it's done. For anyone who didn't know, there was a paro like for over 30 days here in Ecuador. It's finally over. Yay. The paro is done, but of course, people still talk about it because it was an unfortunate point in this year, something that if could have been avoided would have been better to avoid. But unfortunately, we can't, you know, I can't predict the actions of the indigenous people. I understand the reasoning behind their protests in the positive sense of needing the subsidy to the diesel, but the negative sides as well of it just being kind of a smokescreen. Basically, the indigenous people protesting in order to keep things the way they are, being supported by the shadows um, of the country. I guess the dark shadows, the people who are evil in the country. I guess you could say. While I can't confirm that that is actually the case, it would suck if that were the case. And I'm just happy that the battle's over. Um, my thoughts on the battle itself, I think it's unfortunate that it had to come to that. I always feel like whenever there's a strike battle in any country, there should be dialogue that should be able to resolve everything and anything. But it always comes down to my other thought process that realistically, if words were enough to solve problems, everything would be resolved easily because there's so much talking that could happen, but people don't listen. Unless there's extreme action, people don't listen. That's why some people go to extremes, and I mentioned this in one of the streams when I talked about the strikes in other countries. People they damage, not even really damage, but like let's just assume you paint a wall with some kind of graffiti in order to get attention, in order to call attention to a cause. It's not that the act itself was done with malice. It's done to get the attention of the masses, for it to go viral, for people to want to talk about it. And then afterwards, once that attention is given, then people actually start doing things about it. Unless there's attention given to a topic, it doesn't matter how important the topic is. If no one's talking about it, it's like it doesn't exist. So many things happen throughout the world, starvation and crises that happen in countries that aren't here in Ecuador. And even in zones that are in Ecuador, things are happening that we just don't know about because we don't live through it directly. So unless it becomes viral, people just don't know. Unless it makes news, people don't know. So bad things can be happening and people don't know. You can try to talk to those in power, but people in power don't listen to you unless you get their attention. The importance of having a voice online, or in general, to be honest. Llegó el pavo. So the situation with the paro, my thoughts, at least personal situation I lived through. Honestly, the paro did not affect the coast, at least not didn't affect me or the people that I know. Economically, yes, you could say that because of the not even so much the bottle, but the subsidy removed from the diesel, things have gone up in price. I don't even know if this is an example of that, but let's just use it as an example for now because this used to cost 50 cents and now it costs 55 cents. I think it was 56 cents that I bought it right now in Comisariato. And I even looked for it in Tutti once, and in Tutti it's also the same price. In Supermaxi it's the same price. So it's just 5 cents, but those 5 cents pile on. If this were a snack that I were to buy every single day of the week, you multiply 5 times 7. It's 35 cents extra that I'm paying every week that I wasn't paying before. If you multiply that in a year, unfortunately, I don't have the math right now and I can't do that kind of level of complex math. But 35 cents times 365 days in a year, that's $127 extra that I'm paying for a snack that I wasn't paying before. And that's terrible. If you look at it in that kind of global sense, and if you are eating these crackers every day, but I'm not. I just buy these like when I have a chance. I decided I'd buy these for the live stream. I also bought some orange juice from Comisariato. And there's also an extra sweet and a bag of chips over here. Just something to share here. I thought at the end of the stream that we could just talk for a bit if there's time and share these snacks. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the paro itself. Things really didn't happen here. I did hear from someone who was in the highlands because last stream or the stream before last stream that we talked about the paro, I talked about how it seems kind of unfair how the indigenous people were treated when all they were doing was protesting peacefully. Until I found out that there were people who weren't protesting peacefully, from this person who told me that living through the situation in person, the people would sometimes stop your car and punch out your tires. Of course, they were obstructing work, which is something that I talked about, which could be considered not peaceful because it's literally messing with people's livelihood. And of course, the protests themselves, I don't know if they damage the streets, but by putting so many things on the streets, that could eventually lead to some kind of damage. So it was bad. It was bad. It's not as bad as in other places where you could say people were flipping cars, but the fact that these things were happening and some people were affected by it, like I said, people's tires being punched out and disinflated, punched out, and people being obstructed from being able to go to work. I do think there's not reason for extreme violence from the government, but there is a reason for the government, the police, the authorities to show that there is power. They do have power, and you can't just disrespect them the way that they were doing, and you can't just trample on people's rights, normal people who just want to get to work for a cause. I guess that's always the duality of a protest. Like, yeah, there's a cause, but there's a person who shouldn't really have to be affected because of this movement. Could you imagine losing your job, like on your way to work because you couldn't get to work, and your boss just decided to be, I don't know what to call it this way, but you know what I'm thinking of, uh, because he didn't want to understand that you couldn't get to work on time because of the protests. Like those things can't happen. So the death toll of the protest rose to three. Hundreds of people were injured after 30 days of protests. With the conversation that I had with the person who was in the highlands when this happened, when during the strikes, they were telling me that there's some people like the reality of how these protests happen. Some people are just like recruited by their community, without really knowing what they're actually protesting for, which I find kind of surprising. But then again, I do realize that some younger people are motivated quickly by the promise of making change, and sometimes, of course, monetary incentive. Obviously, if people are motivated monetarily by worse things, such as by cartels, and the movement of illicit substances, why would they not be motivated by a cause that could get their community ahead in some way, shape, or form, or at least the promise that they're given that their community will get ahead? Because there's no guarantee, and some people lose their lives through these kinds of situations. Because I haven't lived through those protests in that part of the country before, this person who was telling me about the situation even told me that this isn't the first time that this kind of protest has led to the loss of lives. In the past, this has happened before in similar ways, where the police have taken action and it has caused the loss of life in these kinds of situations. So while I don't think the excessive force is correct, I also don't think that it having happened was for no reason. Which cities or areas reported the most disruption during the paro? I'm glad you asked, because the areas that were affected the most by the paro, the president ended up reducing taxes on touristic services. These areas were Carchi, Imbabura in Cayambe, and Pedro Moncayo in Pichincha. These were the places that were apparently most affected by the situation with the paro, at least from the investigations that I was able to see. I also, like, from word of mouth, of course, in this case, uh, even like I just mentioned, Babura is one of these places. It was one of the places that I most heard that the strikes affected people. But in general, the areas that were affected by these strikes, which we could also look through the reports of the roads that were blocked and the dates, because remember, like I said, there's a website, one of these news sources. Every day that there was a strike, they would give you the location of what streets were being blocked off. So those areas were the ones that were typically the most affected, because if you needed to get to work to those areas, you just couldn't. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the situation with the paro. Those are the things that I can mention from my own personal perspective of what I lived through and saw in the paro. But I'd like to know your thoughts on the situation. What do you think? What are your thoughts on striking in general? Because honestly, while I don't think it's the best form, since it does lead to certain conflicts and involving people who just don't deserve it, I also don't know what the alternative is if talking just doesn't work. You would feel that talking, like I always say, like I'm always like, why not just talk it over? But then it's so naive of me to think that talking is going to resolve everything, because people in power don't listen. They don't listen to you unless you have a voice big enough for them to listen to you. That's why I understand that there's pressure put on celebrities sometimes to speak out on certain subjects, because their voice means a lot more to people in power. I'm not a celebrity by any means. I'm just a person, a content creator with a slightly bigger voice than the average Ecuadorian citizen. And I wish, like, I really wish I could have like the president here to talk to him and hear from him in person what he has to say and feel like he's a real person who understands the people. But I really don't see that happening. I find that very hard to achieve. But I don't think that it's impossible. Maybe one day I'll be able to talk to the president. Uh, Channel grows big enough. Who knows? I'll be able to talk to people from other countries as well and get their thoughts. But yeah, that's what I have to say right now on the situation with the paro. And let's move on with the next topic. Okay, the next topic is our probably, if I remember correctly, the other concern, the other main concern that I had in regards to the situation with traveling to Ecuador, visiting Ecuador in 2025, and as such, a concern that I think we all have going into 2026, and that is crime. Crime in Ecuador, visiting Ecuador, is there crime in Ecuador? Should I be concerned about crime in Ecuador in 2026? So, if I remember correctly, and of course, through all the news that I've heard, there was an uptick in crime this year. A lot of talks about how crime went up. Uh, no one is happy about it, of course. No one who's gonna be happy about there being more crime in the country. But I want you to realize the reality of crime. Let me open up uh, what I consider to be the final article, because everything else after this article is pictures, um, actual things that I have lived through. So let me open this. I don't even, it's not even an article, it's a video, but I'm not gonna play this video. Of course, it would have an ad. Well, I just showed you the title because I can't show you the video because it's gonna
Ecuador,
make the
fórmula
computer
reforzada.
explode.
Con Ecuador, Ecuador, tú tienes el control.
Sense.
El-
Anyways, 4 days ago, of course, Guayaquil was waiting for a massive fluctuation of touristic activity due to the feriado, the holiday that we had of 4 days. If you didn't know, right now we are currently in a feriado, which I almost didn't feel because I've been working this whole time, except for kind of today. In certain moments, of course, I'm not insane. I have my free time. But there was a flow of tourism or expected flow of tourism during these days. And I can confirm that this flow of tourism exists because I know people who went on vacation. A friend of mine went to the beach. Some of the people that I know about, they went across around the country. Some people went to Cuenca. Some people just went to a different city in order to explore. It's a 4-day weekend. And whenever there's a weekend that's longer than 2 days, people try to leave the city to go either to a beach or to another city to just have fun. If there's a holiday specific to these dates, like Cuenca celebration, of course, people go to that city in order to explore it. If you are planning on going to Cuenca, I do highly recommend you talk to Luis from Ecuador, Luis of Ecuador, Bill Dev Tours. Great guy, gives tours of Cuenca. He can also help you with certain things that you might need help with, and he knows English. I always recommend if you're gonna get a guide, try to find someone who knows English because they'll help explain things to you in the language. And of course, the duality of knowing both languages means when you ask them something, they can talk to the locals for you and explain the things that are happening, and as such, help you avoid, being gringoed, as some people are concerned about sometimes, and it's a valid concern. So, yes, this feriado has been like any other feriado that we've lived through. Even the irony of last year, of during these times when we were going through blackouts, like I was mad about it, and I don't think it was the best time to visit, of course, because who wants to visit when there's no power in the majority of the day? But even during the blackouts, people were still traveling, people were still doing things, as I'll portray in one of the pictures that I'm going to show you now. Let me at least this was from this year. So let me close off. Well, let me just open up this scene because that's all I need to do. Okay, that is the picture that I took. If you saw it on my post that I made about the Avenidazo, which unfortunately I wasn't able to live stream, not because I didn't want to, but because unfortunately there's just no way for me to live stream it. I tried to connect to anything that I could out there, any source of internet, and I just couldn't. Failure of the phone companies here, that they don't set up some kind of dish or something that projects a stronger source of internet at that moment for the people who have the mobile plans. But that was the Avenidazo. People are concerned about crime. Yeah, of course, I know that. But look at this. This is literally the street where the Avenidazo took place. Avenida Manaví here in Puerto Viejo, packed with people. At the end of that street that you can see in that picture, there's a stage. And up to that stage, it was just jam-packed with people. People are still going out. People are still having fun. People were still partying. And that's considering one of my favorite comments that I got on my Puerto Viejo video. Oh, look at that. I got another message from the weather warning service, the messages that they give you. And again, there's going to be rain in certain zones, considerable rain. So, be prepared, basically. So there's still rain. But as you can see, people are still partying in the Avenidazo. That's not the only picture, of course. Let me see, can I cycle through them? Another picture with my friends. We were hanging out in the Avenidazo. Well, they was able to see them. They stopped by my dad's business. I even walked around. Other friends. By the way, Alejandra and Yayo, protagonists to my next video next to me. They're more protagonists than I am in the next video, actually. So you'll see a lot of them in the next video that I'm posting on the channel. Members already have access to that video. So feel free to watch it whenever you get the chance. But yeah, people are still partying, other friends. You might recognize some of them from the video, the trip that we took on motorcycles here in Ecuador. We went around certain beach cities. Complete total experience. I'll admit, the music itself that I added to the video wasn't the best, but amazing video that I made traveling with this fantastic group. Unfortunately, some of the people weren't in the video, but they wanted to. They were gonna be on the trip. They just were not able to go on the trip. But is this not a sign for anyone? Like, can you visit Ecuador? Yes, people are still partying, even though the comment, like I was saying earlier, there was a comment on one of my videos, the Puerto Viejo video, because of course I made a video about Puerto Viejo. If you didn't see it, the best city in Ecuador. Hold up, let me. Uh, YouTube. Let me show you the video that I'm talking about, by the way. Um, but we talked about, well, I talked about the best city in Ecuador. One of the most overlooked cities. I was gonna say underlooked, but no. Well, technically you are underlooking it because you're not looking at it enough. So I'm just gonna put GM Ace Ecuador. And we're live right now. What are do's and don'ts? So we'll just go to the channel, of course. Videos. Of course, it's one of my most recent videos because, ooh, look, right there. That's the new one coming out soon. But yes, the real best city in Ecuador, the best city in Ecuador that no one talks about. In this video, of course, talk about Puerto Viejo. Spoiler. But you have to know why I talk about Puerto Viejo. But in this video, someone commented and they said that Puerto Viejo is one of the cities with the highest crime rate, I think in Latin America or in the country. And correct, I did look this up and this information is accurate. But even throughout all the crime that happens in all the cities that we know in the world, we're still out here. We're enjoying life. We're not going to let this stop us. You can still live in the country. You can still get ahead in the country. You just have to take the precautions. That's why I went through the trouble of making a whole video. Oh, I forgot. You can't see what's on my screen because of this. There we go. There's the video, by the way. And there's also the one that's coming soon, The Real Best City. And that's also why I made the survival guide, which I know people also kind of hated on because they're like, no, this gives a bad idea, bad impression. You're being so negative. I'm just giving the possible warnings and advice that you need to know when you're here. I'm not saying everything that I mentioned in this video is going to happen. I'm just giving you the way that you can avoid it happening to you, and all in one convenient video. I think it was great. I think it's very useful. And I know that's going to be subjective because I made the video. But some people did give positive feedback about, being helpful, trying to help people out, because that's always going to be my purpose. I want people to visit the city. It's not like, oh, don't visit. I want people to visit. So I need to show you what's happening over here to be realistic about it. So let me show you some more pictures. This was from a recent anime event. By the way, I know I look good with white hair. No, I'm kidding. This is from an anime event here in the city. Again, Puerto Viejo. This was from Halloween. Welcome to the Luffy-verse. I was dressed as Luffy. I found another Luffy and another Luffy. And we were all doing of course, the Spider-Man meme. Amazing. Love it. I still need to upload these pictures, so you guys are literally the first people who are watching, who are getting to witness these pictures, except for the people who took them live. But you're the first ones who get to see these pictures. Once again, with the Luffy squad, it was great. It was great. Lovely people. Everyone was super happy, super kind. And this was from today. Of course, this weekend, you know what we're celebrating. We didn't do anything during the weekend. But today we went to go visit the grave of my grandfather, my mom's dad. May he rest in peace. My mom and dad, they gave a few words. We were there. There were a lot of people there. I think I sent myself one of the images. This was from the shopping. They opened the Sweetened Coffee. If you haven't followed me on Instagram, you can see the picture. I took a picture of the shake that I bought in Sweetened Coffee. This was today's thumbnail. Hold up. I need to go back. Where's the other pictures? There we go. This was from another event. Oh, no, wait, that's other information I want to talk about soon. I want to talk about that soon as well. No. Okay. This was from another event, an anime event that we had here in the city. Here's a picture with my friends, the same one. Some of them, one of them, well, three of them that were in the video. Like I said, the travel video, and one that unfortunately didn't get to make it. And this was during the parade that we had here in Puerto Viejo. It was around the middle of October, if I remember correctly. And you can see there's a multitude of people, and that's just the small section that I decided to take a picture of. I'm like, oh, I gotta take a picture of this, so people believe me that there's a lot of people here. But yeah, telling me that crime is rampant in Ecuador, I'll believe you. Of course, there is crime. There's crime everywhere. With me and my good buddy Don talk about this all the time. There's crime everywhere. Everywhere you go, there are even people who say that they'd rather the crime over here than crime in the States, or in general, the situation here than in the States. Just as an example, of course, because it's different. Like, the crime is one thing, but then afterwards you go into the affordability, about the kindness of the people, about how scenic everything is, like, the sights and everything. So it's like, if you just focus on crime, yeah, it's gonna look terrible. But you also have to remember what I always say about crime. It's depending on what kind of situation you put yourself in. Like, of course, if you put yourself in a bad situation, that's on you. You literally are asking for bad things to happen. That's why I tell you to take the precautions, and yet people still don't listen to me. It's so frustrating sometimes, because all I want to do is help, and I don't know if people think that I'm not trying to help, but it's unfortunate. Let me see here if I can open up the other image. I want to open up this one here. It opens up as a separate image. Let me see if I can open that up over here with the other image. I think it would be this one. Yeah. Some testimonies. But before I read the testimony, I do want to read through the chat. Excuse me. Yes, everyone loses, I guess. There are no winners, but I think that they have the right to stand up. The right to protest, I think, is something that we all deserve to have, and if we're unsatisfied with a situation. I just think that the way that people protest should be in a way that doesn't affect the people who don't deserve to be affected by it. I guess that's hard, because like I said before, in order to send the message, you kind of have to inconvenience everyone. But Lewis is great. Build F Tours. Lewis, if you're watching this, or if you ever watch this, I hope you're ready for everyone who's going to go to Cuenca one day and check you out. Help them out. Give them the best times. They totally deserve it. The hamburger team, you guys were a fantastic team. Great video. It was amazing. Took me forever to edit. I really do apologize about that. But I think it was worth it. I think it was worth it. I want to believe it was worth it. Because it came out really, really good. Okay, now going into the image, what I just shared, the testimony. This is from the group on Facebook. If I remember correctly, Ecuador Travel Info. Yeah, Ecuador Travel Info. The group that I always recommend. If you're someone who's looking to visit or live in Ecuador, especially if you want to visit Ecuador, please look at this group. Take a look at it. Read what people have to say. As it says here, last month we had a wonderful time in Ecuador. Our first days were spent at Hotel San Francisco de Quito, which was historic, scenic, and located downtown near Squares in Action. We hired a taxi for 2 days through our hotel and paid $70 each day. The driver took us to places like Panecillo, the Botanical Garden, and the Ecuador Museum. We also visited markets, Teleférico, and other sites. We ate at vegetarian friendly restaurants and enjoyed our food. Due to unrest in a nearby town, we canceled our trip to Otavalo. We took a day to visit Guango Lodge, a rose farm, and Papayacta Springs instead. As birders, we hired a driver to take us to Mindo, where we spotted birds along the way. We stayed at the we stayed at Terraza de Dana and loved it. In Mindo, we visited bird lodges like Alambi and Sachatamilla, as well as the Butterfly Museum and Orchid Gardens. We also took a day to visit Antisana with a bird guide. Overall, every experience was enjoyable and we felt safe and comfortable trusting our drivers. We want to go again. How can, like, I feel like people look at the over, and I forgot to grab a newspaper article. I forgot to ask for a newspaper. But I was going to show you. You can grab a newspaper, and the newspaper, the first thing it's going to show you on the front is probably some kind of shooting, some kind of robbery, some kind of BS. And in the Avenidazo, the video, the photos I showed you of us being on the Avenida, some people did get their phones robbed. But did anyone suffer violent crime? No. The Avenidazo, the worst crime was some people getting their phones robbed, which was terrible, of course. They caught the people who stole the phones, but it was terrible that it happened. Of course, no one's going to deny that. But that doesn't mean that terrible things happen or were bound to happen just because there was an agglomeration. I think that's the correct word. Oversaturation of people in a specific area, which you do have to fear for in other countries because there are people with guns who like to commit mass shootings. Just saying. So it's like looking at that and not looking at the amazing experience you can have if you come prepared. This person said they hired a taxi for 2 days. When they saw that there was unrest in Otavalo, they took a different path. They went somewhere else. And they want to go again. And some of the comments on that post, if I remember correctly, oh, it's not this one, it's the other image. Okay, let me see here. There we go. Some of the comments on that image. We just finished our first week in Quito and are also loving it. The people, the nature, the history, the food, and the chocolate. Next week, speaking of chocolate, I've got a chocolate muffin over here from Sweet and Coffee that I want to show you later. Ooh, I'm like moving it around here. I'll show you that in a bit. Next week, 3 nights Cotopaxi. The week after that, 3 nights Mindo. Eventually, Galapagos. I saw those rose farms years ago. How did you find and contact your drivers? And some people who are also interested in looking for drivers. When we were in Quito, we chose the taxi cabs right outside the exit. I don't agree with that, doing that, but I guess if you arrive at the airport, the only taxis that are allowed are official taxis. They are very strict on that end in the airport in Quito. But if it's outside the hotel, I really wouldn't recommend that. But yeah, we were told to look for the ones with a blue and white label, but we didn't exactly find that. But those taxis are the ones registered by the airport. We also used the taxi called by our hotel. That was very good. Well done. Other than no English and us having no Spanish, we all did very well. If you want to avoid that, I always recommend talking to someone who knows the language. If you are for some reason going to Guayaquil, I have family who runs taxis over there. If you're going to Baños, Darwin Paredes is your man. He is the guy that you have to go with. This was someone else who had some videos done in the coast, San Lorenzo. And hold up, let me see. There were some other comments here. Hold up, I'm trying to get to a specific point. Super bland around Konoha. Someone saying that it was bland now. And here they show like a little pirate adventure, which I think was really cool. But here, Darwin Paredes, recommended all the time. I can't wait to go to Baños and have an experience using Darwin Paredes' service as well. We just finished our 2 weeks in Ecuador as we used this group for information gathering. We also want to share our experience. Maybe it will help some of you. We totally recommend Renan Emilio Gualotunya and Darwin Paredes as guides. We spent 12 awesome days with Renan. He is very knowledgeable, has a great playlist, and was a great hiking guide and partner. We have done Mitad del Mundo, Mindo, Cotopaxi, Quilotoa Loop, Chimborazo Hike, Baños, Tena, and Amazon. Thank you guys. If you go through the group of Ecuador travel info and you just look up Darwin Paredes, you're gonna find so many results. As we say sometimes, meme slang, besto guide, the besto. But yeah, nice itinerary. How much did you pay? Obviously, you have to ask the guides depending on the itinerary that's made for you. Darwin is the best. He always gets these comments. I think there was a small time where there were like two people who were complaining, but Darwin has always gotten like the best comments. I don't even know if these two people were really complaining because something really bad actually happened, or if their complaints were unfounded and they're just trying to make him look bad. Because from everything I've heard, everything I've seen, he is the most recommended guide when it comes to the Baños area specifically. Anything else, then you can kind of question it because that's maybe not his area of expertise, or maybe he has to go a little bit more out of his way and it's more complicated. But he's organized, so I'm pretty sure he'll find a way to help resolve issues and find someone for you if you need the help. So definitely contact him if you need to, and definitely join the Ecuador Travel Info group. I have no stake in this group, by the way. If anyone's thinking, oh, Ace, you're just trying to funnel us into a group. You want us to join a group because you get benefit. I get no benefits from the Ecuador Travel Info group. If anything, I think I benefit them by sending people their way. I don't even know what benefit you get for owning a group in Facebook that has like hundreds of thousands of people as members. Uh, but all the power to them. They're giving help, they're being useful, and I think that's all you can ask for when it comes to a group like that. There's also the group that Don Shader, my good buddy, owns uh, for Manta, so you might want to check that out as well. But yeah, I highly recommend joining those groups. Let me write down the names. I want to be specific for the Manta. I think it was, yeah, Manta and Manavi, expats and amigos. So Ecuador Travel Info. Travel Info. And Manavi. Manta and Manavi, right? Manta and Manavi, expats. Manta and Manavi, expats and amigos. Of course, if you're looking for help coming to the country, if you're planning on living here, like this is for travel, of course. Manta Manavi and Manta and Manavi, expats and amigos is also, of course, for living. But for travel, you have this information. If you need more help, situations with visas, any questions about visas, you can talk to Marcos from EcuAssist. I actually recently got to have a conversation with him. We talked on call, and we're planning on doing either an interview, not live, or a live streamed interview towards the future to answer questions that people might have in case they're planning on visiting Ecuador and they need information for living here and what they need before they come on their trip. We're going to have a conversation about that in the future. So definitely check out EcuAssist. If you want information now, there's a link to that in the comments, not the comments, in the description of this video. And other than that, honestly, if we keep looking through the comments, I think I have one more. This was us about the strike. Peace to Ecuador as the strike ends. I loved my time in Ecuador. Even during the strike, I encountered kind people and a beautiful country. So even though I did not think that coming to Ecuador during the strike was the best idea, like if you did come, like okay, but I wouldn't have said like, hey, now's the time to come. Some people were here, some people live here, and everything's okay. From a personal perspective, and this is where we get into me, into like, telling you about what I lived through during this time, the strike and any other situation in the country. Like we can complain all the time, like about how there's a petty crime. We hate that. How there's these not shootings, but these assassination attempts to gang members. But if you're not a gang member, why do you have to worry about that? Petty crime, if you take the necessary precautions, like if you're not out exposing yourself to danger, why do you even have to worry about that? I'm a broken record at this point, but I keep telling you, don't go out with your chain, don't go out with your phone in your hand, like even sometimes doing that, you might be okay. I don't recommend it, but you might be okay doing that. I just don't recommend it. there's really a lot of ways for you to stay safe. So, like, the country, it's gonna have its downsides. There's noise levels that sometimes seem kind of silly. Like, I had the Avenidazo literally close to my house, so it's like I had music blasting until 2 in the morning. My good buddy Don talks about how he in Manta sometimes when they have like these festivities, uh, there's noise. There's gonna be noise, but that's the trade off. And like, who doesn't have things that they don't like that happen in the country that you're living in? Like, I know some of the complaints in the states right now is that people have just become so like distant. I even recently heard that people are talking to AI and not even interacting with other people. I want to believe that's just because you want to train your AI and you want your AI to know exactly how to respond to you and be able to give you good information based on your situation. But like human interaction, hey, uh, I don't know how I feel about that. But as you can see, you can definitely visit Ecuador in any time of the year. So visiting Ecuador in 2026, there's so many reasons to visit. You've got the train now. There's no more power outages, at least up until now, and we can confirm till the future. The crime situation is something that'll start changing, and we're gonna see the possible effects, the evolution after the voting of La Consulta Popular, the popular consultation, if you want to translate it directly. That's going to be happening about 2 weeks from now. So the results of that we'll probably see sometime next year. Hopefully, it leads to more positive effects. Since if some things go through, there might be more funds in order to be able to invest in protecting citizens, and of course, the implementation of military bases. While it might not be something that everyone wants, and I know that as with everything, there's going to be a potential downside to be had with it. Having something here that guarantees more safety for people coming from another country is not a bad thing. If you have faith as an American, United States, here I'm speaking to people who are from the United States, um, you have faith in your military. Would having a military base here not make you feel more protected? Maybe some people are trying to escape. Well, if you're a criminal, you're obviously trying to escape. But maybe some people are trying to escape the overprotection of such entities from the United States. In which case, well, I don't know what to tell you. They're not exactly going to take over the country, but they'll at least help protect in the possible smuggling of drugs and, of course, the cartels that are bringing in these things and making the country a more dangerous place in general. So I see it as a plus. That comes, as with all things, with many minuses. The end of the subsidy came with pluses in the sense that the government is now going to have more money. But of course, it comes with the minus of having some things possibly raise in price. So, no good can come without something bad. The yin yang of the world, I guess you could call it. But yeah, that is the situation. As you can see, everyone is very happy with their stay here in Ecuador, the time that they've spent. So why don't you become one of those people and be happy visiting a country and giving it a shot? I feel like my orange juice kind of went warm. I put a little ice pack on it just in case, but yeah. So those are my thoughts, and those are the reasons why I think you should visit Ecuador in 2026. Honestly, we could go on. Like, I could obviously talk about what I think everyone talks about, the beauty of the country, the touristic sites to visit, and everything. But I think that's something that you can see for yourself in other videos that show the touristic sites. I'm just here to tell you, to help dispel some of the doubts that you have about visiting or living in Ecuador. Come, come. I would love to see you here. I would love for you to have the best possible time. I think I think we are good to visit Ecuador. I'm hoping it stays this way because if it does, I'm hoping it only gets better from here. Of course, if anything does change, we will be talking about it. And of course, in order to give more insight into the situation in Ecuador. My special surprise, if you were paying attention around the beginning of this live stream, if you joined a little bit later, then you probably didn't hear it. But this is technically the replacement for my typical should you visit Ecuador next year video. Uh, I was going to make another one of those, but I am so focused on making Puerto Viejo content right now. Not because there's anything to gain from it. Honestly, the only thing I gain is feeling like I'm promoting the city that I live in and feeling like giving people more opportunities to understand how good this city is, even if some people believe it's not that great. Ironically, even some people from here themselves. Uh, but man, if you haven't tried the food here, you're missing out. Um, but if you are paying attention, I said that this is, like I said, technically my should you visit Ecuador next year video. That means we have to look at the positives and we're also going to look at the negatives. So today was the why you should visit Ecuador in 2026, and tomorrow will be the why you shouldn't visit Ecuador in 2026, where I'm going to be detailing reasons why you might not want to come to Ecuador, reasons why Ecuador might not be the place for you at this moment. We're going to look at that. So that's why I haven't gone too much into detail on some of the more not so good aspects of things happening in Ecuador. But you know how this channel works. I tell you the things how it is. Me and Don, we try to do our best to tell you everything that we can, because you deserve to know. If you're gonna come here, you need to know as much as you can. So tomorrow we'll be live streaming again. I wasn't sure if it was gonna be tomorrow because I wasn't sure about my schedule, but I got it recently, and tomorrow I'm free, and I'm committing myself to tomorrow doing this live stream. It might not be at 5 or 5:30. It might be at 6. It might even be at 4 if I'm able to do it earlier. But please stay tuned for that live stream tomorrow. If you want to know the possible reasons why Ecuador might not be the place for you to visit in 2026. But for today, this is why you should visit Ecuador. The only extra thoughts that I have to give you, I wrote down some extras, of course. Like I mentioned earlier, the video is completed. You can actually see it if I open this up and I close this down. That one right there with the burger, finding the best burger in Puerto Viejo. That, of course, might still need to be edited. Not the video, but the thumbnail. That is the current one right now. It will be available to everyone on Friday. Members have access to it immediately. So if you are a member, Deborah, you being a member, of course, a new member, you can watch it as soon as this live stream is over. You can even watch it now. But I appreciate it if you stay on the live stream. It helps me out. YouTube likes to play this game of the more people who watch you and comment, the more it recommends the videos to other people. And of course, word of mouth works a lot as well. Bernard, my wife and I moved to the coast of Ecuador from the US 1 year ago and have absolutely no regrets. There you go. Another testimony. Bernard, good to see you here. Buenas. Thank you for joining the stream. I don't know if you've been here the whole stream, but thank you for your continued membership and thank you for the support. And of course, thank you for this comment, letting people know that you can come to Ecuador. You can live here and be absolutely okay. Make sure to check out Eco Assist if you need any help on visa information or assistance. Luis of Ecuador can help you if you're coming to Cuenca. I can help you if you just want to know more about Puerto Viejo and Manta, for people who like me to pronounce in Spanish, Manta, and so many other things. The other thing I wanted to talk about, of course, these snacks. Some of my most recent purchases. I really like these crackers, the Nestle salt crackers. It's been a snack whenever I'm sick. I eat these. I'm not sick right now, by the way, but it is a snack that I absolutely love to eat from time to time. These chips, if you just like normal potato chips, these papas fritas lisas. I don't know why, just the fact that they're lisas, like smooth. Lisas, by the way, ironically, the name Lisa, Lisa. When something is lisa or liso, it means it is smooth. It is like without anything on the surface. Because some potato chips, as you might have noticed, they have like the lines. like Ruffles, but these are smooth. So they're really good. I bought this juice, orange juice in Comisariato, 100% natural, cold pressed. While I do always have concerns about anything that is supposedly natural because labels, they can tell you anything and it's just marketing. I have tried this juice before, it's really good. And now to show you the muffin, cupcake, whatever you want to call it, from Sweet and Coffee. I don't know if you can see this. Anyone who doesn't know me, something that you want to know or you might want to know is that I am a big, huge fan of chocolate on chocolate on chocolate on chocolate. Um, I am a healthy boy, as many of you who follow me on Instagram might know. And if you don't, you might notice that I take really good care of my health. I fast, I eat once a day, I try to eat healthy. But the one thing that I always make an exception for is chocolate, not on everyday occasions, but like this weekend, this is my holiday. I've been working all holiday. I've been doing this side work that I have, uploading tests and helping organize things. Of course, finishing thumbnails and editing for the video. Uh, when I finally finished all that, I'm like, I'm gonna give myself a treat. I bought this muffin cupcake. The picture that I showed you earlier with my family at Sweet and Coffee, of course. Let me pull it up again. In this one here, and it would be this one here. This was me and my brother. We invited our parents out to eat. My dad ordered a omelet croissant. My mom ordered a red velvet muffin and a cappuccino. My brother ordered a tiramisu. I think it was. No, I think he ordered dulce de tres leches or cuatro leches. And I ordered this muffin that I brought home and a shake. The shake, I uploaded the picture of the shake on Instagram. Um, but we did this today because it's holiday and we wanted to enjoy it in some way, shape, or form. I have these snacks also to enjoy the holiday because honestly, I've just been working, make it stop. Yeah, but I wanted to get all that work done, so I was free. Um, Now that that's done, I can actually enjoy the holiday. You could say that this is work, but I love interacting with you guys in the community. I really do appreciate you being here today, taking the time to listen to this video. I did want to share something else. Um, well, I guess I'll share it here. Uh, I could show you. I have to find the pictures, but I didn't even post them on here because I don't have the pictures. But I was a judge at a spelling bee at this high school. It's called Centro Educativo Pedro Schumacher. And I was a judge for a spelling bee. Um, it was an experience. I've never been a judge for the spelling bees before, but I was last year one of the people who was the voice, giving the examples and definitions for the high school that I worked at. So it was a great experience. The kids participated well. For this one, I was actually the voice, giving the words for the spelling bee, and also giving a short message at the end to the people who won, and of course telling the kids that it is a very difficult thing to do to stand up in front of a crowd and talk to people in a language that's not your own. So be proud, even if you didn't get to win this time. Um, Remember, there's always future opportunities, and you live with the experience, and you'll do better in a future occasion when it comes to spelling. Because even through failure, we obtain success because we learn from it and we become better. So yeah, I thought that was a really fun experience. Uh, Also, the reason why it took so long to edit the video, I've mentioned it to I think members, and I mentioned it before. I've been doing a lot of substitution work, and I was substituting at a high school, and the kids they gave me drawings. So this is one of the drawings that they gave me from Boku no Hero Academia, My Hero Academia. which is on its final season, by the way. Uh, so they gave me this drawing. They also gave me this other drawing. You guys know how I love Mario. Well, I hope you do. And you know how I love anime. Well, I hope you do. I also got this drawing. So yeah, I was really happy to get this, and I was only substituting for a few days, almost a week in total, if you count the days. It was just kind of like split because the person who asked me to substitute was going through a family crisis, so they could go a certain day, but they couldn't go another day, so they would ask me to substitute. And yeah, I was over there substituting, and the kids gave me these drawings, and that made me really happy because I didn't expect it. If you want to make me happy, Ace, as a person, anime drawings, anime things. I love these. Anything related to anime that I can collect or just have to show. Chocolate is my favorite. Dark chocolate, 70%. I remember when Mark Horning came, he gave me a super dark chocolate bar. Unfortunately, the super dark chocolate one wasn't great, but the dark chocolate normal one, 70-ish%, 75, I think, was really good. Um, I also really like when it comes to things here. I love the Ecuador clothing, but of course, that's something that I love to buy for myself um, because my size sometimes changes. Uh, Not so much, but I want to make sure I buy something that fits me. I'm waiting for the new Ecuador shirt to come out because, of course, you know, there's gonna be a new Ecuador shirt. There was actually a deal at the shopping right now. You buy one Ecuador shirt, you get another one free. Anyone in Ecuador, take advantage of that deal right now in Marathon. Buying the original is more expensive. I talked about this in a video, but it's worth it if you want something that's gonna last you a long time, made of good quality. But yeah, those are some of the things that have been happening in my life. Some of the things that I wanted to talk about today. Some of my thoughts about the situation, the reasons why you should visit Ecuador in 2026, and of course the end of 2025 if you're still making plans to visit. Oh, orange juice is just the best. I love orange juice. It's really good. So yeah, if you have any other thoughts, anything you'd like to say, please let me know. If not, then I think that's all we have for today. Either way, thank you so much to everyone who joined, of course, for being a part of this live stream. Thank you so much for the support. New channel member Deborah, thank you for becoming a member and for the donation. It really helps out a lot. It's like extra work day, kind of feels like that. Lisa, Bernard, thank you for being members of the channel. Thank you to all channel members, even if you didn't make it to this stream. If you watch this later on, thank you for being members. Same thing for Buy Me a Coffee members. Thank you as always for your support. It really means a lot and it really helps a lot because the situation isn't always easy. Like I said, I've been doing a whole bunch of extra work, but that's just the way that my life works. In order to be able to buy certain things, to invite my parents out, to make sure things are stable, to have a little bit of an extra situation. This month is Mom's birthday, by the way. So I'm gonna see if I buy her something nice. If you'd like to support that, of course, that's up to you. But I have an idea of what I want to get her. I also want to give Dad kind of like a special spa treatment. I'm hoping I can give him something like that because just looking kind of stressed because of work. And yeah, that's everything that I have to say for today. Also, of course, I am okay. I'm still icing my foot because of an injury, but like I can still do sports. I just have to be very cautious. But yeah, that is all for today. Thank you everyone for joining. I hope to see you in tomorrow's live stream. If you want to avoid the negativity, of course, don't join tomorrow's live stream. Tomorrow's the day that you get to be negative. But for today, this is why you should visit Ecuador. I am Ace, and I hope to see you next time. Take care. Ace out.